There was once a young man who lived in a quiet town surrounded by rivers, small markets, and people who believed life should stay simple. His name wasn't important because he could be anyone. Every morning he walked the same path to work. He passed the same bakery, heard the same greetings, and saw the same people living the same rhythm. On the outside, his life looked ordinary, peaceful, even easy. But inside there was a weight he carried, a quiet doubt. Why does everyone else seem to know who they are, and I don't? Why do I feel stuck when the world around me seems to move forward? He smiled when people looked, he laughed when someone joked, but when he was alone, silence felt heavier than any noise. He wasn't lost in the world, he was lost within himself. One day at work, his boss assigned a project that required confidence, leadership, and decision-making, the very things he feared. He tried, he truly did, but mistakes stacked like stones, wrong ideas, wrong timing, wrong reactions, and every failure echoed the same old whisper, "You're not good enough." People didn't say those words, but the silence after his attempts felt louder than any insult. At night, he lay awake and wondered, maybe some people are meant to succeed, and some are meant to watch. And somewhere inside him, a dangerous thought appeared. Maybe I should stop trying. One evening, as he sat alone by the river, an old man approached and sat beside him. They didn't speak at first, just listened to the water. After a while, the old man asked, "Your heart is loud tonight. Why?" The young man hesitated, then whispered, "I try, but I only fail. Everyone else seems ahead. I feel like I'm always behind." The old man nodded slowly. Then he said, "Do you know why rivers are strong?" The young man shook his head. The old man smiled gently. "Because they move. Not always fast, not always straight, but forward. Always forward." Then the old man stood and added quietly, "You don't fail because you're weak. You struggle because you are growing roots before rising." Then he walked away, leaving only silence. But this time the silence didn't feel empty. It felt like a beginning. The next day, and the next, he tried again. Not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, just to move, like the river. He read more, he asked questions, he listened instead of fearing mistakes. Some days felt good, some days hurt, but slowly something changed. He no longer feared failure. He expected it, learned from it, and continued anyway. And people began to notice, not his perfection, but his consistency. Weeks later, everything collapsed again. A major setback, a misunderstanding, a result that erased months of progress. He fell back into silence, feeling like he had returned to the beginning. He walked to the river at night, the same place where he once met the old man. This time he whispered, "Maybe I'm not made for this. Maybe life is telling me to stop." A tear fell, not because of pain, but because he almost believed the lie. But then the river spoke in its own way, not with words, but with movement. The water kept flowing, slow in places, forceful in others, but never still, never defeated. And he remembered, not every strong person began strong. Some became strong because they refused to stay weak, not because it was easy, but because something inside him finally changed. He no longer worked from fear of failure. He moved from belief that he could become more. And that belief was enough. Months later, his project succeeded. Not perfectly, but honestly. People respected him, not because he was the best, but because he kept going when others would have stopped. He learned that confidence isn't something you're born with. Confidence is earned. One small step past fear, one lesson past failure, one attempt past doubt. If you're listening now and you feel behind, if you're tired of trying, if you feel unseen, unheard, or not enough, then remember this: You don't need to be perfect. You only need to keep moving. Slow is fine. Broken is fine. Unsure is fine. Because growth is not loud. Progress is not always visible. Strength is not always shouted. Sometimes it is silent, steady, unseen, like a river carving stone. And one day, without realizing when, you will look back and see that every failure, every doubt, every hardship was not stopping you. It was shaping you. So don't stop. Your story is still being written, and the strongest chapter hasn't happened yet. If this story touched you, stay a while. There are more chapters waiting.